All right, so this is our third and final exam to go over. You want to invest $20,000 today to accumulate 22,500 to buy a car. If you can invest at an interest rate of 3% compounded annually, how many years will it take to accumulate the required amount? So there's two ways we can do this. We can take the 22,500 and divide by 20,000. And when we do that, we end up with 1.125. And if we go to the future value of a dollar on our time value of money tables, future value of a dollar, and we go down 3% to find 1.25251, we find that's approximately 4 years. But you can also go the other way. You can take the 20,000 and divide it by 22,500. And that gives you 0.88889. And if we go to the present value of a dollar tables and go down to 3%, and we get 0.88849 would be 4 years also. So either way works on that one. Number two, you want to invest $7,000 annually to beginning now in order to accumulate 25,000 for a down payment on a house. If you invest an interest rate of 9% compounded annually, about how many years will it take to accumulate the required amount? And so what we do is we take the 25,000, divide it by the 7,000, and we get 3.571429. And now, since we're annually beginning now, so we want the present value, we want the future value of an annuity due. And it's 9%. So 9% times 3.57 would be 3 years on that one. Number three, today Thomas deposited $100,000 in a 3-year 12% CD that compounds quarterly. What is the maturity value of the CD? So what we have to do, since it compounds quarterly, is we multiply the compounding periods by 4. So that will be 12, and we divide the percentage by 4, and so that's 3. And we want the future value of a dollar. At 3% for 12 periods, and we get 1.42576. So 100,000 times 1.42576 be 142,576, or C. Number four, Shane wants to invest money in a 6% CD that compounds semi-annually. Shane would like the account to have a balance of 100,000 4 years from now. How much must Shane deposit to accomplish this goal? So now we're going to go to the future value of $1. And it's semi-annually, so it will be 3% and 8 periods. So the future value of $1, 3% for 8 periods is 1.26677. So we take the 100,000 and we divide it by 1.26677. And when we do that, we get $78,941. And then finally on this page, 5, Tammy wants to buy a car that costs $10,000 and wishes to know the amount of the monthly payments which will be made the first of every month with interest of 12% on the unpaid balance. She should use the table for, so we want the present value and it's the first of each month will be an annuity due, and so now we want the future value of the annuity due. Next page. An investment product promises to pay you $42,000 at the end of 10 years. If an investor feels this investment should produce a rate of return of 12% compounded annually, what's the most the investor should be willing to pay for the investment? So we want to know the present value of a single dollar. And 12% for 10 years is 0.32197. So 42,000 times 0.32197 be 13,522, 523. Yep. Okay. Companies recognize revenue only when control over goods and services have been transferred to the customer. For a typical manufacturing company, the most common critical point for recognizing revenue is the date the product is delivered. On November 1st of 2021, Taylor signed a 1-year contract to provide handyman services on an as-needed basis to King Associates, with the contract to start immediately. King agreed to pay Taylor $4,800 for the 1-year period. Taylor is confident King will pay the amount, but the payment is not scheduled to occur in 2022. Taylor should recognize revenue in 2021 in the amount of, so we take the $4,800, divide it by 12 months for its 1 year. That would be $400 a month. So we have November and December. So 2 times 400 is 800. Number 10, a contract does not exist for purposes of applying the revenue recognition principle in all of the following cases except when. So A, we don't recognize it. Signing a formalized contract doesn't matter, so B is a possibility. Yeah, C is no. See if you can terminate without contact, and D don't. So B is the correct answer. So the buyer did not sign a formalized written contract. Don't have to have a written contract for it to be a contract. Number 11. Which of the following is an example of an extended warranty? A is not. B is not. C sounds like it. So C is the correct answer there. Number 12, Bob the builder entered into a contract of 1 month duration to build a barn for Nolan. Bob is guaranteed to receive a base fee of $5,000 for his services in addition to a bonus depending on when the project is completed. Nolan created incentives to Bob to finish the barn as soon as he can without jeopardizing the structural integrity of the barn. Nolan offered to pay an additional 30% of the base fee if the project is finished 2 weeks early and 10% if it's finished 1 week early. The probability of finishing 2 weeks early is 30%, and the probability of finishing a week early is 60%. What is the expected transaction price with variable consideration as the most likely amount? So the most likely amount would be the base of 5,000 plus 10% because 60% is likely. So that would be 500. So 5,500 on that one. Notice this most likely is different than the expected value that we did on the other exam. The expected value, we would take 10% times 30, which would be 3%, and 60% times 10, which would be 6%. So we would add 9% using the expected value method, but this is the most likely amount. Number 13, Junk Goblin sells vacuums and just launched a policy where customers have the right to return a vacuum during a 3-year period following purchase. Gunk management has no experience under this sort of policy and does not believe it can accurately estimate returns. What is the longest period of time that Junk may have to wait before recognizing revenue associated with one of these sales? 3 years after the right of return has expired. Number 14, which of the following is typically true for a bill and hold arrangement? A bill and hold is when a supplier ships a good to somebody. No, bill and hold is when a supplier sends the bill, but they don't actually ship the goods until later. And so D, its revenue is recognized point in time. No, that's not D. Revenue is recognized when the goods are manufactured. Yeah, so a bill and hold is a way to guarantee that you're on the waiting list. I'm sorry, delivery is made. C, delivery is made. COSO. Now, COSO is something that you used to hear a lot more about in accounting. COSO stands for Committee of Sponsoring Organizations, and they do a lot of work. You'll hear about them when you get to your accounting information systems class because they do a lot with internal control. So COSO defines internal control as a process affecting an entity's board of directors, management, and other personnel designed to provide reasonable assurance regarding the objectives in so D is all the answers are correct. Number 16, Cashmere Soap Corporation had the following items listed in its trial balance of 12/31/21. So what amount will they end in their balance sheet with cash and cash equivalents? Well, the currency and coins certainly will. Balance in the checking account certainly will. Customer checks waiting to be deposited will. Treasury bills purchased on 11/1 and mature on 4/30 would not. Remember, for it to be a cash or cash equivalent, the original purchase has to be within 3 months. Marketable equitable securities is not, and commercial paper purchased on 11/1/21 mature on 1/30/22. That one would. That's within that 3-month period, right? That's exactly 3-month period. So 5,000, 6,200, 8,800, 9,450. Cash may not include restricted cash. Accounts receivable are normally reported at the expected amount to be collected. That's why we have the allowance for uncollectible accounts, and we report accounts receivable net. And then 19, a journal entry to record receipt of interest on interest-bearing notes receivable will include, no, it'll be a debit to cash. It will be a credit to interest revenue. We don't have a debit to notes receivable, so B is the only correct answer there. Number 20, on June 1st, Parson Associate sold equipment to Arleo and agreed to accept a 3-month $50,000 10% interest-bearing note in payment at a time when the prevailing rate of interest for similar transactions was 10%. So it's an appropriate interest rate. When the note was collected on maturity, Parson would recognize interest revenue of 10% would be $5,000, but it's only for 3 months. So 1/4 of 5,000 would be 1,250. Remember, interest is always quoted in annual rates unless specified otherwise. Company's investment in receivables is influenced by several variables, including all of those are correct. The allowance for uncollectible accounts is a contra asset. In a perpetual inventory system, okay, this is back to inventories, and we do not do inventory. We don't do inventories, and I think it's until chapters 8 and 9. So we don't have that. Don't have that. Largest expense on retailers is usually cost of goods sold. Purchases equal the invoice amount plus freight in, plus discounts lost could be, less purchase returns plus purchase allowance, and no, plus freight in, less purchase discounts. Yeah, that would be the correct answer. But that's an inventory one also. Under the gross method, that's an inventory. We're not there yet. Inventory, not there yet. Not there yet. Not there yet. All right. So now we'll work some problems. Under the NBA deferred compensation plan, payments made at the end of each year accumulate up to retirement. Then retirees made at the end of each year accumulate up to retire. Then retirees are given two options. Option A allows the retiree to select the amount of annual payment to be received, and option 2 allows the retiree to specialize how many years payments are to be received. Assume Hardaway has $6,000 deposited at the end of each year for 30 years and that the long-term interest rate has been $30,000. How much has accumulated in Hardaway's deferred compensation amount? So A is going to be the present value of an ordinary annuity at 8% for 30 years. It'd be the future value of an ordinary annuity. Future value of an ordinary annuity at 8% for 30 years is 136,3075 times $6,000 would have 817,845. And B, how much will Hardaway be able to withdraw at the beginning of each year if he elects to receive payments for 10 years? So we'd have 817,845, comma goes there, 817,845. And now we need the future, the present value. So that's the present value of the ordinary annuity. So we need the present value of an ordinary annuity for 15 years. And 8%. So that's 8.55948. He would be able to receive 95,548. And then C, how many years will he be able to receive payments if he chooses to receive 65,000 per year at the beginning of the year? So we take the 817,845 and divide that by 65,000. And that's 12.58. And so we need 8% until we get down to 12.58. And so it would be 41 years. It's actually off the chart, but just over 40 years. All right, number 32. Beavis Construction Company was the low bidder on a construction project to build an earthen dam for $1,800,000. The project was begun in 2020 and completed in 2021. Cost and other data are given below. Assume that Beavis recognized the revenue on this contract on the percentage of completion. What's the gross profit recognized during 2020 and 2021? So our revenue for 2020 will be the 450,000 divided by 450,000 plus 1,050,000 times 1,800,000. And so 450 divided by 150, 1,050,000 is 30%. 1,800,000 times equals 540,000 is our revenue minus the 450,000 cost. So we would have 90,000 gross profit in 2020, and then in 2021 we would have 450,000. Well, it's going to be the full amount, isn't it? So it'll be the 1,800,000 minus the 540,000 is 1,260,000. And then we subtract the cost incurred this period, 1,100,000. And so 1,160,000. Number 33. The Falwell Computing sold 5 computers to Computing Plus for $10,000, subject to 310 net 30. Falwell uses the net method of accounting for sales discounts. Okay, record the journal entry to record the sale. So 3% of $10,000 would be $300. So number one, the sale would be accounts receivable for $9,700 and sales revenue for $9,700. Okay, so that was on May 20th. So the payment for number 2 was received in the discount period. So we would get cash of $9,700, and we would write off the accounts receivable because they paid it for $9,700. And on June 5th, so that would be past the discount period, but within the 30 days. So 3 would be cash of 10,000, accounts receivable 9,700, and sales discount forfeited of 300. That's 33. Okay, number 34 shown below is activity. Okay, this is an inventory problem, so we don't have that. Don't have to worry about that. And this was a supplemental problem for the multi-step income statement. You won't have one of those either. So that's our review for the exam. Good luck. If you have any questions, I will be around both tomorrow after 12:30 and then on Wednesday I will try to get here about 10 if you have any last questions.